And I will say at the end, he said, how are they picked? I mean, people will also say, and I see people saying in the super chats that they're all, Hassan orbiters. Okay, that's fine. Obviously, there's a personal grudge, but he did not choose to go after Hassan. He chose to go after these specific people, and those statements were very damning.
I only get like 500 views. I'm taking maybe 50 views from the video. It's a lot harder to feel bad about that. Whereas I would feel very bad about doing that to a single content creator.
That's not how the law works. By the way, that's not how the law works.
Nope.
The law doesn't care whether you are a large creator or whether you're a small creator. And that's not going to matter at all.
If that is the case, this man has upgraded from 4D chess to 5D chess, while all the rest of them are still figuring out pickup sticks, okay? Let's get on over to Legal Mindset. Now, those of you who watched the last live stream, we reacted to a couple of clips. We reacted to a couple of clips of Legal Mindset going over H3's lawsuit, some of the takes that he had about people trying to turn around and say that this lawsuit or the video was somehow entrapment. So we're going to take a look. We're going to take a look and see him break down the lawsuit and talk about it, see what's actually in there from the viewpoint of a lawyer. It's one thing for me to say it, right? I'm just some random person on the internet. It's another thing to hear it from somebody who spent, I'm assuming, a multitude of years learning what it is that he's talking about.
Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. We're just going to start with looking at his video, and this is I'm suing these 3 creators, right? And spoiler alert, I am not one of those 3 creators. So let's get into it here.
My favorite hobby is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers. Today, I invite you into my home.
Okay, first little comment here. And by the way, I am going to be pausing this all the way through. We're not going to just do a full watch through with I don't pause it. The lawsuit
is making sure he's making sure he ain't going to be on the next lawsuit.
Could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, but honestly, the way he's dealing with it, he could probably get this done under 100K if he wanted to. And by the way, there are lawyers that will take this on a part contingency. So I'm not sure which lawyers he's working with, but it's possible that he could get this done for under 100K. So I don't know about hundreds of thousands of dollars, but okay.
All right, Legal Mindset. You're being a little too much of a dad here. It's a joke. It's a joke, buddy. I mean, I get it. He has to make clear to his audience that, hey, you're not going to be spending that amount of money if you decide to get into a lawsuit, not all the time. But at the same time, the dude's literally burning a fake dollar bill, a fake $1 bill. Like it's a joke.
Home to share my favorite pastime with you. Join me in creating generational wealth for my attorney. Let me tell you guys.
Yeah, and by the way, I see people in the chat saying, is it burning money illegal? I don't think that was real money. I think that was a prop.
And the crazy thing about it, right, is that it's entirely possible he did that in the video. Now, again, this is conspiracy theory. If you're not in the weeds like I am, you're not going to know about this. But there is a rumor floating around on the internet that Ethan purposefully burned fake money in the video in an effort to try and get people to report him to the U.S. Treasury for burning money. Okay, if that is the case, this man has upgraded from 4D chess to 5D chess, while all the rest of them are still figuring out pickup sticks. Okay, Ethan has stayed on top of a lot of shit, man. You hate him, love him. This dude is almost always like 3 to 4 steps ahead of his enemies. Yeah, I'm sorry. I gotta respect it.
I'm pretty sure that was a prop.
As a story, about a year and a half ago, it's a big conversation called ReactGate. ReactGate was a debate going on in the streaming community about what constituted fair use. People like Hassan, XQC, and many of the large Twitch streamers would watch other creators' entire video on their stream. They would rarely add sufficient commentary or even pause the video to speak. Most
And this is something that's going to be continuing to go on. And that it's just one of those things that as long as people are making original works, you will always have somebody trying to find a way to utilize it and be as lazy as possible. I mean, look at Kmplxity. For those of you who don't know, Kmplxity put out a video. Maybe we'll end up reacting to it in the future or something like that. But she made a response. You can actually go watch it on the H3 podcast. If you look up H3 podcast on the video or on YouTube, they react to her response to Ethan Klein, who one of the ones, right, when she was talking about it, was she's like, I don't even remember reacting to it. And she tried saying that he cut her out of a different live stream and put her over his freaking content nuke video, and that it's a frivolous lawsuit because he edited her into the video. That woman's brain is cooked. It is fried. Okay. That girl, she doesn't have a single brain cell to rub together.
Egregiously, they would re-upload the entire VOD to YouTube with the same thumbnail, the same title, so that they could cannibalize traffic from the original video.
Okay, let's start with that. So let's start with some basic principles because he's building a foundation here. So at the core of copyright, and of course, this is a very fundamental point, copyright protections do start the moment you create a work. But at the fundamental analysis, I'm going to really break it down, is, okay, you've got your protections, but there is this exemption. There is this exception for...
She also said she doesn't remember anything, so how can we trust her word? Yeah, no, absolutely, Misanthrope. That woman is fried more than any bacon has ever been fried. Okay. I don't even know. These people, including Ethan, are all gross, mean girls and can all go to. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Like I've said in the past, I will give credit where credit is due with Ethan. I am not a staunch defender of everything he's done. He 100% has engaged in mean girls activity, and I am more than willing to call him out for it when I see it. But in this situation, not only is the law, the facts, the whole situation is on his side. And a lot of people are saying that he's only doing this lawsuit because he couldn't do anything about the CPS call or the human skulls or the harassment that he was facing. And to that, I say good. Yep. To that, I got 2 middle fingers and a cloud of dust and not a single fuck to give. Okay. You use the tools that you have. And I'm going to be honest, I do not care one bit, not one, because fuck those people. He wasn't able to get them for the CPS. He wasn't able to get them on the whole human skulls thing because of the snark. Whoever did it outside, of tenable means for people to be able to see, right? So I don't give a shit. Even when they are correct about something, they are so smug and obnoxious about it that it's hard to take their side, but at least Ethan isn't always wrong. I'll agree. Yeah, I will agree with you on that too. Ethan can be incredibly smug when it comes to being right. Yep. And that is off-putting for people. So I agree with you. He does have a problem with that.
Fair use. Now, fair use is a case-by-case analysis. Every single video is different.
Yep.
So while one video may be fair use, another one might not. Yep. And 2 judges can look at the same video, and one could think the commentary is fair use and one could think it's not. So
yes, exactly. And this goes to interpretation of the law. Again, I'm a layman. You can look this up. I know I had to back when I made a video on copyright law, but there is 2 ways to interpret law. There, as far as my understanding and as far as most lawyers I've heard talk about it, there is as written and as intended. Now, generally, if you have a fire and brimstone lawyer or a fire and brimstone judge, they typically go with as written. Now, what does that mean? That means that they interpret the law as it is written, not necessarily as it is intended. So if it says like, okay, this is what constitutes as copyright law, they follow it to the letter of the law, and anything outside of that is not up for debate, not up for interpretation. Whereas as intended is, yes, this is what it was written. This is how it was written. But the people who wrote these laws 100 years ago never couldn't foresee into the future that YouTube would be a thing, that Twitch would be a thing, that, people would be making movies all on their own and stuff like that, right? Independent filmmakers and stuff. So when you interpret the law as intended, you take the law for what it was written, for how it was written, but you apply the current century to it, right? So things that are outside of the law, you look at it and interpret if it has any weight within the law itself. Generally, those type of lawyers or judges, they are more flexible when it comes to the way that they look at a law. And on top of it too, it's very difficult to get somebody who is, 50, 60 years old, 40 to 60 years old, whose only real interaction with the internet is having it on their phone and Googling stuff, to understand the complexity of copyright. Now, of course, there are copyright lawyers and there are judges who, specialize in copyright and stuff of that nature, but it's one thing to read it. It's another thing to implement it into this current day and age.
So it's very difficult to nail a copyright case and say, yep, that one is transformative and that one's not. Yep. However, what he is pointing out is a problem on all platforms, especially regarding cannibalizing traffic, because at the core of the analysis, and this is something I'm going to go back to time and time again, is, are you using your video as a substitute for the original video? If the answer to that is yes, this is a substitute for the original video, someone would watch your video instead of the original, then the judge is going to weigh on those scales on the side of, this is not fair use, this is not protected, and you are violating your infringing copyright.
Yes, and the word for it is a market substitute, which basically means you are undermining the market of somebody's product, of somebody's original work, by providing a substitute for it, right? So watching it on their platform rather than watching it on Ethan's platform, it's called a market substitute.
So
it's like having it's like bootleg, basically, right? And it's like taking a video and recording it and then selling it now, or taking a movie, recording it and then selling it as that. It's bootleg, right? It's a market substitute.
This is not something that's black and white. This is not something that is super objective. It is a subjective analysis based on several factors.
Correct. But in my recording of a movie and then bootlegging it, that is incredibly black and white.
But that substitute angle is the most important thing you should think about. Are they trying to use this as a replacement for the original?
Yep.
And are they doing it by taking the original wholesale? And that's why I've always said, including on my channel, I've said, look, I don't have a problem if anybody clips my stuff, etc. The only thing that is problematic is if you take the entire video with no commentary, no clipping, whatever, and you just re-upload it.
Yep.
That is a problem. That is a substitute. That is saying, okay, instead of going here, I'm just going to re-upload your video here. That's clearly infringement, right? So what these people are going to argue is, okay, well, does sitting in a chair in the corner fundamentally change that? And how much do you need to talk? How much do you need to interact? How much do you need to do in order for that to be transformative? Do you need to talk 10% of the time, 5% of the time, 25% of the time? What ratio of input is necessary for something to be transformative? And that's a very important question. And I do feel that there are judges that could think either way. But we're going to get into it because these specific examples are important. But more broadly, a lot of people do this. A lot of people just watch videos, sit in the corner in the little cube, and really don't add much and really don't have much to add. And I'm not even going to point out whether it's educational or not. I'm just talking in general for commentary. Just sitting in the corner and not doing much. Yeah, that's not really adding too much to the overall conversation.
And it's funny because actually reacting to his video is a perfect, and I was already thinking about this when I clicked on the video to watch it. reacting to his video of a reaction to the lawsuit video actually offers its own difficulty in this situation, right? Obviously, if he and I are watching the video, right? I'm watching him watch the video and generally waiting for him to say something to comment on, then the question becomes, am I just stealing this? Because who knows? Maybe he'll let the video play for 4 minutes and he's not saying anything. And so I don't really have a whole lot of commentary to give. Therefore, could it be considered that I'm infringing upon his own work, his own original creation here? Which is why, we're going to react to a good amount of the video. We're probably not going to react to the entirety of the video, but simply due to that nature. But I will pause it. I will offer extra even during the times where he's simply watching the video. But it's funny because this is a perfect example of where that black and white, that gray area of what does and doesn't constitute as fair use.
What Lamino had to say about this phenomenon.
I don't mind people reacting to my videos, but I do mind when they play the entirety of my video. A face cam in the corner or the occasional interruption does nothing to address that issue. My video is still being played from beginning to end in someone else's stream or video. It's neither ethical nor necessary to feature the entirety of someone else's work.
And he's going to pause. Hold on. Maybe he has the same opinion I do.
They could do the bare minimum and ask for permission.
So I will say this. This is my comment on that, is that it sometimes is necessary to.
Yes. Absolutely. I paused Andy prior to what he's going to say, but I feel like he's going to have the same opinion. Sometimes it is necessary to watch the video or to watch the creation in its entirety in order to have a well thought out, opinion on what it is that you're watching, to be well informed, right? If you watch half of a news segment, then you don't know what happened on the other half. You don't have the complete information. It's the same as if you drop out of school, you don't have all the information you need. If you're in a specialty, if you're going through training or something of that nature, if you stop halfway or you stop a third of the way in, you don't have the entire information that you need. And especially if it's a drama where there's multiple moving parts. And I go back to the Papa Gut situation where he did the most minimal amount of research when it came to the Cameron F305 situation, that his take on Cameron having done nothing wrong was so abhorrently, abysmal that his own people, his own viewers were starting to come after him for it because he was so uninformed of the situation.
Show the whole thing because you need the context of the whole work.
Exactly.
So if you're going to give an opinion, you're going to give a reaction, you're going to comment on something, you want to comment on the entirety. Just commenting on a clip can often be out of context. Oftentimes, if you just take 30 seconds or 45 seconds or 1 minute of something, that's not the full context of the conversation. And in fact, I would encourage people to look at the whole thing because oftentimes people are not looking at everything they're saying. Now, mind you, maybe looking at like super chats or something else, rewatching a live is not necessary. Okay, whatever.
Yep.
But in general, if someone is trying to give a message, you would want them to fully respond to that. However, you'd want them to actually be contributing a response, right? That's optimistically.
And generally, when it's okay to just be taking small excerpts of a video or something of that nature, that still falls within copyright. Is again, I will utilize Abba and Preach as an example, right? They'll react to portions of a video, portions of body cam footage or something of that nature because they've watched the video. Typically, Abba is the one who's watched the video to its entirety, and due to that video, like there are certain parts on it that he wants to talk about, or that he wants to give some fleshed out opinion on, or that he wants to have specific portions of the video he wants to know Preach's thoughts on. These aren't necessarily, videos that are that need to be reacted to its entirety if you're trying to find a singular point to discuss, right? If you're talking about like healthcare or something, right, and you're reacting to a debate on healthcare, and you hear something about premiums, and somebody explains why they believe premiums should be incredibly high, and why somebody believes that premiums should be incredibly low, that might be the only portion of the debate of a 2, 3, 4, 20-hour debate that you want to talk about. So it's not necessary for you to react to the entirety of the work simply because your entire video is centered around the premise or is centered around your opinion of that specific individual ideology.
But let's
Or situation.
continue. And by the way, I've always said this: if someone is commenting on my stuff and they watch the whole video, that's fine for me, right? For me. But others may feel differently about that. And many people, by the way, and I'll know by the poll, many people think reaction channels are just content leeches. So we'll see. We'll see what the poll comes out.
I mean, I have to agree. It is incredibly easier to watch something than it is to create something of your own. 100%. I do agree with that.
I'll leave it up for a while.
Something that none of the major reaction channels have ever done when they've streamed or re-uploaded my videos. But to answer your question, no, I don't want people to stream or re-upload the entirety of my videos.
Now, understandably, this made a lot of people angry, because why should these content thieves essentially get more views than the author of the video, which in a lot of cases was happening? I mean,
well, okay, I'll tell you this. There's one reason why. Number one, the author might be boring as hell. They might be really freaking boring.
That is true. That is absolutely true. It's one of the reasons why some people do enjoy watching videos through their favorite reactor, because their favorite reactor is entertaining or is knowledgeable on something, or they're incredibly animated, like XQC or Kai Cenat or I'm Dante, people of that nature. They're generally, very upbeat, very loud, very boisterous, and it's just more entertaining to watch through them than it is to watch somebody else. And oftentimes, if you're like me, you've watched the video, but you also watch somebody's reaction to it because you want to know their thoughts on it, right? When I was covering the Ethan Klein video, damaged sector, he was in chat and he was watching solely because he wanted to know what my opinions on the situation would be, right? So he and I have that in common, and that's the way I enjoy my reactors, who offer and add more substance, not just a element of entertainment.
Sometimes people they're just paint drying. So the person commenting on it can bring the animation, can bring the personality, can bring the comments that really bring it to life. And you see that with certain channels. I think Asmongold is a great example of, he can watch something that would be objectively boring otherwise, perhaps, or maybe not that interesting. But then by commenting on it, it brings out a different facade, because you're bringing out a comment on an aspect of something. So saying, hey, this particular thing is interesting, let's talk about that. Or maybe it's something that's not said, right? So you're watching a video and they're talking about, anything, right? The crime of murder, right? And they're talking about how bad it is, right? But maybe they leave out false convictions, and you want to talk about false convictions. There could be something that's brought up that's relevant that's not in the video.
And it's funny he doesn't use himself as an example here, so I will. It's also one of those things where if you're looking to educate yourself on something, you want to watch somebody like Legal Mindset or Bruce Rivers or Legal Eagle, or somebody of that, somebody who is a lawyer or a prosecutor, defense attorney, a judge, whatever it might be. You want to hear what they have to say, because they have the ability to break down what's on screen in a way that's easier and for somebody to digest, right? Or why people watch like GunTube, LawTube, all these different things. It's because maybe they don't understand these things. Maybe it's not them. They want somebody to be able to to break it down so that way they can understand it. And copyright law is an incredibly difficult thing to be able to try and comprehend as just a layman. It's even that difficult for lawyers as well. Apparently the Snarks Reddit that harassed that girl was ran by trans/furries, and they're already proving to have no regret. Yeah, I can believe that. I can 110% believe that.
So let's continue.
People don't like injustice, and we all see this, and no, it's not right. This debate culminated when XQC, one of the prime suspects, called in at my show to debate me, in which case I'm sad to report that I was terribly owned. So in that regard, do you care at all about like IP or...
So I just want to say you might be seeing the video that he's watching, like rendering and all of that. That's not me. That's not me. That's his video. I don't know if it's his internet. I don't know what it is. His video is lagging. It's not myself. All right. So if you're trying to refresh or something, it is not my live stream. It's his live stream.
Or copyright, or like the fact that it's illegal. Does that matter? That it might be illegal, does that matter to you?
No.
It doesn't matter.
Well, if flat out doesn't, because...
Well, that's fair.
Watch me full screen cam, do the fucking worm, then watch your prime... Then watch
Bro,
your prime content.
Do it for a week. Do a week of no reaction content and see how many fucking views you get. Oh, okay. Sure.
Okay, that's content, though. There are some people that would watch a guy do the worm for a week. I'm not gonna lie, the internet's a weird place.
There is.
Some
That's
people
true.
would watch that.
I mean, there's a freaking cafe. They do the whole eagle live stream. There are some people, thousands of people, who watch just eagles in a nest all day, like having little eaglets and stuff. So yeah, he's not wrong.
I mean, let's be real.
I mean, that's content, man. It's original content, at least. The ultimate debate, bro. He hit him with the worm. Oh, why didn't I think of that first? I kid XQC, but he is not the one I'm suing. Despite my criticism, he's not a malicious infringer, but the ones I am.
So there's a key word he used, and I do love that he used the French because he's Quebecois. That is good. I will say, you know what? I'm going to give it a point on that. One thing he used there, an important word, is malicious. So key in on that word, because that may be the thing that screws the reaction channels that he's suing. And that may be the line that the judge draws between these people infringing and other reaction channels. Because, by the way, I don't think he would win against other reaction channels. I think there's other channels that react to content or watch this whole video that he would lose against. But I think that word malicious may ultimately be the key.
Am suing, you'll see, are much, much worse. Now, ironically, after this debate and in the wake of this large conversation, the problem seems to have only gotten worse. You have people like Hassan Piker paving the way of fair use with what's known as chair reacts. When Hassan gets up to go to the bathroom or to eat or to talk to his mom or to do whatever, disappears for an extended period of time. The video playing for his chair. Mr. Chair, they call it.
IDF had warned people to leave the area around the main airport in Sana. Then
Well, I've been seeing
I mean, to be honest, in most cases, I just think that's laziness, and that's just the format and maybe the way it lends itself to. There are certain...
He is not wrong. So there is a little breaking news, Misanthrope. I did just see on Reddit Lies on Twitter that there are some screenshots of the Save a Fox sanctuary of the Snark Reddit. I don't know if you saw the same ones, but I was just taking a look at those for a second here. But we might circle back to that.
Certain points at which, and I can empathize with this as a law tuber, if we watch, for example, a court case, there are points at which, if we watch an 8-hour-long court case, that we have to pee. or we have to go get some food, or we get a phone call, whatever. Something happens during an 8-hour long court case. You got to get up, you got to do something, you got to use the bathroom. I don't think necessarily getting up once or twice. However, if the majority of the content or the video is an empty chair, or more time is an empty chair than you're commenting, yeah, I do think that could be a potential problem.
Yeah, and it was in this setting that I formulated an idea. What if I could make a long-form, irresistible piece of content that I knew that these streamers couldn't resist? They couldn't avoid the temptation of watching it the second it was published.
I don't have an issue with them.
It's not that I wanted these people to steal my video. It's that I knew they would.
See that, and that's the defining line, I think, that keeps it. You know, people mention trap, right? Trap versus knowing someone's going to steal. So that's the dividing line. And if you know the channels, it is pretty predictable that they would react to it in that way, because that's what they do. That's what they do with everything, right? So if someone, and
people are trying to use that right as entrapment or trap or anything, and it's like, it's not really entrapment, really. It's well, one, it's not entrapment at all. And is it really a trap? You know, if you leave a thief in a room with a diamond, is it really a trap? Or do you just know what that person's willing to do? Do you just know that person's a thief? Most likely they're going to try and steal it. Most likely they're going to try and hide the fact that they stole it. Like, it's who they are. So it's not, is it really a trap, or is it just predictability?
Someone does that with everything, it's predictable they would continue to do that.
See, there's the word.
that with future content.
I knew they would watch the entire video, add little to no commentary, react to it instantly, giving them no time to form an opinion. The trap was set, and it worked even better than I imagined it would. We captured pretty much every large streamer reacting to it in its entirety immediately after it was published.
Excuse me, Ethan. I did not react to this. I did not react to that. I did not react to that at all. Do you know why? There was no legal issue in that. So a lot of people wanted me to talk about that and wanted me to get into that. But at that point, it hadn't risen to, is there a legal question here? What's going on? Is this defamation? Because he hadn't said, hey, I'm suing or whatever else. None of that was at stake there. So for me, looking at that, I actually thought at the moment to myself privately, this could escalate into something legal. And I was...
Well, I think Ethan, when he was saying that all the major YouTube channels that reacted to it, he was talking about within the sphere. It makes sense that legal mindset wouldn't react to it because he's not within the drama sphere. He's a law tuber.
Was actually thinking at the moment, is this going to escalate into defamation, slander, some sort of, legal suit over what they're saying about each other? That's the direction I thought. And to be honest, I was surprised when it played out this way, when it played out the copyright angle versus a defamation angle or some other sort of angle. So this is actually, to me, was kind of surprising. And it was an interesting surprise, but actually a pleasant one, because it gives me an opportunity to talk about the law in an objective way without going into the personalities themselves. So a pleasant surprise.
Now, the thing is, there were a few.
Yeah, and eventually it turned from something that he's not a part of to turning into something that he could actually interact with with his specialty.
People that went above and beyond to commit copyright infringement. For example, Denim sits here silently with nearly 50,000 live viewers. That's 30 times her regular viewership. She's working directly with the Snark subreddit moderators to siphon views, and their intention.
So this is really bad. This is the really bad one. There's having a documented list where you can say, we're going to watch it without supporting H3. It's intentionally, and that's where the word maliciously comes in, maliciously trying to siphon views and be used as a substitute.
Yep, people love putting their crimes online. I'll never understand why it is. People are incredibly stupid. I mean, it's crazy that people are trying to paint this out as him being misogynistic just because they're all women. It's like, you're idiots. It has nothing to do with their gender. It has everything to do with the fact that they literally said that they were stealing the content in an effort to not give him a view. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. These people, if Ethan told them that they were on fire, they would look at him and be like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. You're just saying that because you're just saying that because you're a Jew. You're just saying that because you hate women. You're just saying that. It's like, Jesus Christ, the amount of side cucking that's going on here, the freaking team sports out the wazoo.
That's not good. That's not good. It's not a good look.
If you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime.
See, so that's where she screws herself.
Yep.
So she's literally saying, don't give views to it and give me money. That is the definition of substitute. That's where she screwed herself. She's literally saying, I am the substitute. Give me money. I am making money instead.
Denim's the ever queen of self-ownage will always be defeated by her own stupidity and inability to be anything more than a waiting room. She is a market substitute. She made herself a market substitute is the bottom line.
It turns out they just do it for you. You couldn't cook up a more incriminating statement if you tried. Denim's the queen of self-owning. You prevail again. There's one thing about copyright you should know is that you got to register it before you publish to be eligible for statutory damages and attorney's fees, which is the main biting force of a copyright infringement lawsuit. Well, I'm happy to tell you guys now, I, Ethan Klein, have registered Hassan Piker Content Nuke with the United States Library of Congress. Some of you guys out there sweating, even though.
And that's the other thing too. People are trying to turn around and be like, "Oh, well, he put the copyright on it, and so obviously it was a trap. So obviously it's not okay. So it's going to be thrown out." It's like, no, you have to copyright something in order to actually be able to take it to court and get those specific damages, right? You can do copyright and you can go copyright. You can do copyright infringement on or sue somebody for copyright infringement, but there are certain damages that won't be payable to you if the content that you have isn't registered in the with the commerce as he did it himself, right? You can get damages for like the money it cost you for the person stealing your content. But if you don't have it registered, then you don't have the ability to get your legal fees paid for.
Theoretically, I could sue a lot more creators and rake in millions of dollars. But the purpose of this is not financial gain. People like XQC and Asmongold may have watched the entire thing, but I would never sue them.
He would lose. So this is where I think he would lose. I don't think he would win against Asmongold. I think he would 100% lose, probably against SQC as well. Right? I haven't watched SQC's video on this. Watched a little bit of Asmongold's, which is why I can say that. But I'm very certain he would lose against Asmongold.
Just for doing.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. Whether or not they had good takes, whether or not they said anything worth of substance or value or anything of that nature isn't what's in question here. What's in question is if they transformed it enough for it to then become a work of their own, right? So obviously, if they're talking throughout the entire thing, even if they're not really paying attention to the video, but they're commenting on it, they're creating an alternate work, right? Not a market substitute, but an alternate work. They're altering the original content from what it previously was. Then there's nothing that he can really do about it. Now, I don't think Ethan was saying that in the sense of these guys, they also were engaging in copyright infringement and, market substitute. I think what he was saying is, I have it registered, which gives me the ability to sue these people in this area, but doesn't necessarily mean that, at least in my interpretation, doesn't necessarily mean that he thinks he would win in these areas.
Doing that. I don't want to chill the reaction community into fear. Actually, the opposite. I hope that we can all unite against this type of egregious behavior that not only makes us all look bad, but could destroy the commentary community as we know it.
Well, guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime.
They all met this very specific high bar of criteria that I set forth earlier. These people were not targeted based on their gender, their identity, their political beliefs. All three are on this list. In fact, they're the only three, as far as I could tell, that reacted to the full video. Drum roll, please.
And not only that, but it's very obvious that he's going after the three best cases, right? People who openly admitted to engaging in this act. I'm sure that there are other people whom he could have gone after, but the cases weren't nearly as strong with the self-admittance, right? Self-admittance is a huge thing in this situation. The fact that they are acknowledging that they are becoming or that they are a market substitute within itself is almost a slam dunk. And, you know, again, I'm a layman, but I'm sure that there are other people who did do chair react, who didn't engage with it, and, you know, to the same degree as others, but it would be a little harder to be able to prove that they were doing copyright infringement, whereas you have these imbeciles actively stating that they are engaging in a market substitute.
Who's sweating at home, guys? Casey Tron, the queen of ripping farts and bong loads.
Dog, what do you look? You think I made this?
Frogan, who bless her soul, she's still rising.
Can I walk away and use the bathroom? Do I have permission? Can I use the bathroom, please? I'll leave it playing.
Just blatant infringement.
Interviewing a Yemeni teenager who's only known genocide his entire life.
What happened?
And Denims,
you know, it's funny because when Diorio was reacting to this, he said, like, why couldn't she just put up her own video, right? Because that's what a lot of people do. That's what Logic does. That's what Diorio does. When they're live streaming, if they have to go get go to the bathroom or something, they play their own video. The reason she doesn't do that is because if she played her own reaction to stuff, it would be the exact same thing. It would just be her sitting there not doing anything. So she doesn't have anything. She could probably cut together the parts in which she actually talked and did something on screen, but how little of a video would that be, you know? It just made me laugh because it's like, if she were to play her own video of what she does on a daily basis, which is just sit there and look ugly, then it would just be the same. You would just be seeing her watching something and not offering anything.
Queen of self-owning. And my God, is she the queen of that?
It's very obvious from the way that guy's talking, he's a Sneeko fan.
Oh my God, bro, I love you. Hassan, can I give you a hug, bro?
I'm so sweaty, bro.
I love you, bro.
Now, this has always been a weak argument. I mean, when reacting to this in the content nuke or watching this on the content nuke, it was always an incredibly weak argument. I think he has the other two arguments that he makes for her being a complete dunce are way better. Even in his arguments against Hassan, I feel like this is just one of those throwaway ones that it's like, you kind of put it in there, right? You throw it in there because it helps fluff the number a little bit, but it is most certainly the weakest argument that he has when it comes to like the Hassan shit.
None of the hostages that have been released so far have said that they have been raped. The hostages have public statements. You can go look at them.
The section.
God, I need this woman to be freaking sued into oblivion. I'm sorry. I hate this chick so much. The fact that you can literally see the emptiness inside of her brain through her eyes, it just fills me with so much aggravation. Like, I hate stupid people so much, man. The disingenuousness, the being so disingenuous in who she is as a person is just fucking abhorrent.
Sexual assault I experienced should never happen to any human being.
This Yemeni kid is just a Yemeni kid with a gun and is not a Houthi, and there is no proof of him being a Houthi.
Are you a soldier? Yes. That seems pretty definitive.
He never said Hassan Nasrallah was a good guy.
I can't believe I'm calling Nasrallah base. I mean, listen.
Now for the fun part. Let's take a look at the.
Once again, I'm just commenting on the legal stuff, not the opinion stuff or the substantive stuff or the underlying issues, right? So, you know, their individual opinions on their disagreements with each other, etc. That's not really relevant to copyright infringement. So, no comment.
Complaints. And let's start with my favorite.
I hear you, legal. I hear you. You don't want to get into the weeds.
Favorite of the three, the very own, the prestigious, the highly acclaimed, the highly analytical Casey Tron.
A lot of people have been wanting to watch this. without necessarily supporting Ethan Klein. So we're going to watch it.
Now, I will say, of the three of them who made these self-admissions and all that, I do believe that that one right there is going to be a little bit harder to argue, because she's stating that people want to watch it without necessarily giving support to Ethan. So you could look at that as just being a statement of fact, because it is absolutely a fact, obviously, or else the H3 Snark posting wouldn't exist. So you do have to craft it into a way that it shows that she is, maliciously engaging in that. No one with any self-respect or people that value honesty can like any of these girls. Bro, facts, 100%.
Well, that's a really dumb thing to say, don't you think?
Yes, he's correct about that. Her saying that without supporting Ethan Klein, once again, that's a substitute nature. So that's where he gets into, that's where he's hitting it on the head. And that's, I assume Ethan has had a conversation with his lawyers, unlike many other creators who just get on and blab and run their mouth. This is a pre-recorded video. It's not a live. So I'm sure he sat down and had a conversation with his lawyers. I'm sure his lawyers watched this video and they're like, yep, looks good. Send it out. So, that's something that is a check mark in his box on that side.
Yeah, and like I said, I do believe that it definitely falls within her making a statement that she is engaging in a market substitute. However, I do also believe that it is the weakest of the admissions that he has from these three, right? Because again, you can argue that she is making a statement of fact and not necessarily that she is making a statement that she's engaging in that. But you also have to look around the context of it as well. You have to look at the things that she says during the live stream, what she does during the live stream, the things that she talks about or engages with throughout it as well. Her stating that people want to watch it without supporting him, in and of itself, is just a statement of fact and could be argued as such. Whereas with Denims stating that if you enjoyed watching that without supporting Ethan Klein, that is more of a slam dunk statement.
Tron smokes 42 times during her reaction. And just as a silly thought experiment, we thought, wouldn't it be funny if she spent more time smoking than she did talking? And thinking there was no way that that could be true. Well, we tallied them up, and lo and behold, there's 15 minutes, 40 seconds of commentary versus 18 minutes and 55 seconds of smoking. She spent 3 minutes and 15 seconds longer smoking than she did talking in her quote unquote reaction. And whatever talking she did was just to express how confused she was, presumably from smoking 42 times.
This chick gives all stoners a bad name. I hate people like this, man. Absolutely hate people like this. Stoners that are like this, just complete and utter burnouts, giving the rest of us all terrible names. Not everybody who smokes is a fucking blank mind, like this. Not in a fog of, doesn't have like continuous fog of mind or mind fog, whichever way you want to say it.
Happening. I'm trying to follow. I've lost the plot.
The complaint continues. Indeed, Kmplxity is often too obliterated to comment on the news.
Now, I will say, okay, so the Lasting Opinion does have a TikTok. We'll probably have to put that out there as well in the upload description and all that. But there was somebody in one of the clips that I had uploaded that stated that they were interested to see how a judge is going to respond. You know what? Actually, let me go ahead and pull it up so I can read it, verbatimly. Kmplxity is the main reason I don't want to try out the local weed shop. They're legal now. So afraid I'll end up like that. Oh man, I definitely can hear you on that, my brother. Okay, so let me go ahead and find this comment first, so that way I can read it verbatim rather than bastardizing it. The person said, I'm no legal expert, but I imagine a judge is going to look at his suit and go, Mr. Klein, how does Hassan advocating for the eradication of Zionism, like the Nazi trying to eradicate the Jews, with the collaboration of Palestinian nationalists while attached photo of Adolf Hitler and Amin al-Hassouni, have any bearing on Denim's infringement of your copyright? Okay. So I responded to that person by saying, now I don't see that happening, but it would be quite something, or the whole for the whole Ethan Hassan situation to find litigation within a court. They said that it's an actual excerpt of his filing from page 15 to 16 of the complaint. So it seems as though in his lawsuit, there is portions in which he is referring back to the Ethan Hassan, the Hassan nuke, and portions in which he's going after Hassan for. We haven't looked at the actual filing for it. If that is the case, if he truly is, shoehorning potentially, again, I said to the person, I would have to read the actual complaint in order to understand the full context. But if he is trying to, shoehorn in portions of his issues with Hassan, that is something that is slightly concerning, right? Because you want this to be a purebred, 100% copyright infringement, legal, searching for legal ramification, right? You don't want it to be, this is my lawsuit. Also, I want to put that in there too. I'd like to put my opinions in there. But again, I haven't watched, or I haven't reacted or reviewed the legal filings, so I don't know the actual context of him saying that. It's entirely possible that he was stating it in a sense of, this is what was being covered in the video, to which this person had no actual argument against or had no interaction with, don't know, would have to look at the legal filing.
New, and instead stares blank.
See that this is good. This is good legal writing. Like putting obliterated. The word obliterated is funny, but it's not inappropriate. It's not inaccurate. It's good legal writing. This is very good legal writing.
Well, that's news to me, because I honestly, when I saw that, I was like, that's funny. And I don't think that hits the mark for a courtroom, but I guess he would know more than I would.
At one point, she's so wasted. Once again, it just makes you chuckle a little bit, right? And that's what the judge is doing. The judge is a human being. They're not a robot.
Stating outright that her intention of doing this is so that people who don't want to support me can watch it through her is why copyright infringement laws exist. You could not and should.
Tell me she does not look like a lost puppy, bro. Look at her. She looks like she is so scared of what she's seeing on stream. Like she just woke up out of a goddamn 30-year coma, and she's just like, what's going on? Where am I? Like, she is so lost. I talk about Frogan and Denims being, having nothing behind their eyes, simply because they're literally that stupid. This chick is so burnt that she probably doesn't even know what year she's in most of the time.
Not do that, especially if your commentary consists of you taking bong loads. At least try to engage with the content. Whoa, what was that? Oh, sorry. That was a flying star. It almost got me. You know her and you love her, guys.
This is going to eat into my turd brownie budget.
And what is good here, and this is something that was pointed out over my locals, I do like that he's let me page back here a little bit.
Frogan. It almost got me. You know her and you love.
Okay. I do like that he's showing the complaint, because she's showing he actually filed. When you see the complaint, it's real.
Because so many people were going to love getting on here and be like, oh, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue. I'm going to sue. I'm going to sue. Right? People love, especially if you have money, right? They're willing to turn around and say, oh, I'll sue you. It's kind of like with the back in LolCow when what's that dude's name? The one that was trying to box Boogie. whose like wife has cancer and shit, right? And then he was talking about how he like had slept with Desi and that they were hanging out and all this shit. And Keem was trying to say, oh man, if you don't stop, daddy, was it Daddy Fat Stacks or something like that? And Keem was like, dude, if you don't stop this, I'm going to sue you for sexual harassment. That's not how it works. Like Trap Daddy. Yeah, there you go. Trap Daddy. I knew it had daddy in there somewhere, but it's like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. You can't sue somebody for sexual harassment simply because they said I slept with this person, right? You can't, or I'm hanging out with this person. You could probably go after them for harassment, right? But not sexual harassment. Now, sexual harassment can be both physical, physical and verbal, but sexual harassment generally is under verbal. If it's supposed to be under verbal, right? It's supposed to then turn around and be more like, oh yeah, you're beautiful, you're this, you're, you know, da 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 da. Oh, I would do this to you, I would do that to you, and somebody not wanting to engage with it. That is more sexual harassment, or inappropriate comments, things of that nature. Again, I'm a layman, not a fucking lawyer, but I find it highly implausible that you would be able to sue somebody for sexual harassment simply because they lied and said that they slept with you. Now, could you get them for like, could you go after them for, it wouldn't even be defamation at that point either. But again, him actually showing the legal filing it's real, right? Then it's real. And this kind of goes back to what I said. Everybody knows what cocaine looks like. It's a whole other thing to have a line of it on your, on your dresser or on your table or something. First he traps you, then he makes you call him daddy.
You know, it's filed. It's not just talking smack. It's not just something that
it's not just a deterrent. It's not just a big dog on campus. It's a legitimate, no, this is happening, y'all.
That you're thinking about doing. You've actually filed. You've actually filed. It's great.
Love her, guys. Frogan. Reaction by exiting. Here she is getting up to leave the video running as she steps out of the room. Is that transformative? We'll decide. She said, quote, "It's time to watch the new nuke ethically. Hell yeah." Huh. Very smart to say on camera, by the way. She said, quote, "Thank you guys so much. I do appreciate everyone's support. Thank you for watching it with me." Well, you are so welcome, and I'm so glad that you were able to enjoy that day. As lazy and pathetic as her reaction is, this is not why she's getting sued. This is.
Thank you guys so much. I do appreciate everyone's support. And thank you for watching it with me. First time viewer, time to watch the nuke ethically. Hell yeah. I found my way from Reddit. Hi guys, welcome Reddit people. Reddit people.
Her happiness causes me anger. It's because it's disingenuous. It's fake. It's so freaking smug. It's so it's just, oh, I hate. You know, it's one of those things where it's not necessarily, well, I guess technically it is preying on the downfall of somebody, right? Which generally is bad. But when it's somebody who's just this disingenuous, this disgusting, this backhanded, this freaking smug, you can't help but just eat it up, man, and enjoy. Misanthrope, why is Frogan's face permanently stuck like that? She always looked like she just told the thinnest lie. Yeah, I don't. She always looks like she looks like every single nun in every single horror movie, just staring at you.
I came from the Issue Star credit. Ethan is so pathetic while his son is in Japan. I'm bothered, having a great time. Exactly.
She looks like a Cabbage Patch Kid who grew up and got money, but was never cool with the other Cabbage Patch Kids.
We're gonna watch it live. Yes. He doesn't want people to know when it's dropping because we're all watching through other streamers, and I suggest you all watch it through other people as well.
That's the comment. That's the comment that damns her right there.
Yep.
It's not the chair stuff. It's that comment. I actually think that's the thing that the judge could come down and say, "Yep," because you literally said that
And not only did she say doing it for herself, but she's advocating for people to find market replacement, a market substitute, and continue support other creators, quote unquote, right? Other creators, and continue to not support the original work.
You said, I would advise you don't watch his video and you watch us. That might be the thing that they draw the line and say, that's where these people crossed over. See, Denims did it. She did it there. Very clear.
Reminds me of a Russian doll, Jess. Yeah, you know what? Yes, but she's just all the dolls in one. She's like the big doll at the end and everything, and she's just completely cannibalized any sort of good inside of her. And that's what all the other dolls are. The second doll, that's her capturing, you know, the regular morals. The third doll, that's her, you know, capturing, having a thought of her own. The fourth doll is her capturing, having any sense of knowledge of or due diligence in life or motivation.
Very clear that she wants it to substitute for Ethan's video.
Yep. I learned not to steal when I was 5. Up next is Denims. And honestly, just take a look at this, guys.
She's so used to being able to say and do whatever she wants. Yes, exactly. And get away with it. This is the first time she has to actually face consequences. She can't just lie away smugly. Not only can she not lie, but it doesn't matter what her echo chamber says. Her echo chamber isn't going to be there in the freaking courtroom with her. She's not going to have the thousands of people turning around and telling the judge, "Oh, you support genocide, judge. If you file against her, you're a genocide supporter. You hate babies. Why do you hate Palestinian babies?" Like none of that's an argument. And not only that, but if they're wanting to go the angle that he is utilizing this lawsuit to attack them and to continue to harass them, they're going to have to prove it, right? And this is something that I saw somebody talking about, you know, so let me go on a small short tangent here real quick. Somebody was trying to state, or somebody, LUS, who is another legal guy, I forget what what the acronym is for, but he was stating, and we'll see it on Yeet after the video. He was talking about how once it comes down to discovery, everything's open game, baby. So if there is conversations or a group text or texts between them talking about and colluding of watching the stream or watching it with the full intention of being a market substitute, that comes into court. All of that comes into court. All of your private conversations that potentially could be held, if granted, right? If the motion if the motion that's filed on behalf of Ethan Klein by his lawyers to obtain, you know, Twitter DMs or to obtain Twitch whispers, Twitch DMs, Instagram, all of that stuff, it could end up being damaging to them. They could end up being, you know, shooting themselves in the foot in a way that they never knew possible. So discovery is going to be huge. And it all depends on what motions the judge grants and what motions the judge denies. Now, it's a two-way sword, right? Because if the judge grants the motion that Ethan is able to obtain these, these DMs, these conversations, he must equally give the same level of an invasive investigation to the opposition, so long as they meet the requirement in their motion, right? So let me say this in a little easier. They both have to plead their case as to why they believe that confidential communication between the defendant and their counterparts would yield information that pertains to the lawsuit. Okay. So had one of those, but there was a dozen Russian oh, you guys are talking about the Russian dolls still. But basically that's what it means, is they are going to have to provide enough evidence to the judge to show and support their belief as to why they think that their communications behind closed doors would add more value to the lawsuit. It's called it's weighing between probative and prejudicial, right? The information that is gathered, is it more probative or is it more prejudicial? In other words, is it probative in the fact that, okay, we need to go into this and gather this information because it pertains to the lawsuit? Or is it prejudicial in the sense that it will, regardless of whatever that information is, will it prejudice the jury to an extent that it is unfair to the defendant, right? So again, but that is more so in a criminal case than it is in a civil case. So we're kind of blurring the lines there, but that is one thing that I don't think they're even considering is when it comes down to discovery. I don't think that they understand that. Not yet.
It's a nightmare on Denham Street. Not only did she...
Okay, that's kind of... I think they... Okay. Okay. Real quick. The Casey Tron one, she smoked more than she spoke. That was funny. Nightmare on Denham Street. I think that's a little pushing it. That's a little pushing it. They could come up with a better one than that. I'm gonna objection on that one. I mean, I like the legal humor, but that one, I don't know.
Denham said, quote, "Well, guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, give me a follow, subscribe, throw a prime if you like my content." Your content? The Queen of Self-Own and countdown timer so we could tell exactly how long she was away. After being gone for a few minutes, she returns and then sits silently for another couple of minutes eating.
I'm going to go pee, and hopefully when I'm back, they're done with this.
Now, this in and of itself, I believe... in my interpretation of what he's trying to do here is show a pattern, right? Because she's not actually reacting to the content nuke. As you can see, it shows right here, that the content nuke drops at 1:30, which means that this is her reacting to their podcast and isn't actually reacting to the content nuke. So this scene here, in my understanding, wouldn't have a whole lot of weight within the actual copyright lawsuit, or as far as like copyright infringement goes, but it does hold weight to prove that she was staying alive, even though she actually says it, but it shows that it proves that she was waiting for it to drop and to be able to capitalize on the viewership, to be able to capitalize in being a market substitute, right?
Yeah,
you do look better.
Mr. 305. I see it.
Dude, you should do this.
I have an alternate.
We're relying on you to stay live so we don't give more views on the nuke. Yeah, I'm gonna stream it. Since he confirmed it's coming out today, we're gonna stream it. If you want to watch it with someone else who's already watching it, come enjoy the watch party somewhere
She's so dumb.
If you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime if you like the content, if you enjoyed your time here. Because I'm going to be honest, I did not want to watch that by myself.
Let me also commercialize it by asking you to reward me financially for stealing his content. That is like chef kiss. By the way.
So that's where we get into. So somebody mentioned statutory damages. So statutory damages is something that's
if I remember correctly, if I understand it, statutory damages is damages that was ensued due to the fact that they were stealing views from his video. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Prescribed by the statute. But beyond that, you can say, hey, I lost revenue, and the revenue.
Oh, okay. So the statutory damages is damages in which are given just simply due to legal statute, as in if he ends up winning, then this is the maximum or the minimum amount that he can be awarded for it. But on top of that, he can, if able to prove the loss of income, of revenue, then he can also get that, as what it sounds like.
Revenue they gained, I would have had. So you can make that argument for that revenue in addition to the statutory damages. See, so there's a large amount of damages. Just because there's statutory damages doesn't mean you're precluded from going after compensatory damages or other forms of damages, right?
So okay, and then compensatory is obviously you're being compensated for it. So it makes sense because let's take the Alex Jones lawsuit for example, right? So with the Alex Jones lawsuit, they were compensated. They had compensatory damages, which is compensation. Then they had emotional damages. Then they had like emotional damages, as in what the jury believed that they were entitled to in order to go ahead and give them relief, whatever damages were inflicted upon them due to the emotional stress of the situation or the harassment. Then you also have the ability to, from my understanding, if somebody ended up losing their job, right, that would go into compensatory damages, I believe. But there are multiple different areas in which you can file in damages. You don't have to get all of them, but you do have a wide variety open to you. So that I do know. I'm not entirely sure what is bracketed within those.
So that's an additional, it's like an and one. It's an extra point. It's it's more, right, than you would normally get. So that's a good thing, at least for Ethan, if he wins.
Always delivering the goods. She went on this dude's podcast to debate fair use. And would you be surprised if I told you she said a lot of incriminating things in that podcast? The queen of self-own never disappoints.
I want to be clear on my opinion on like filler content and stuff. Like I think filler content, like you shouldn't do it. I know I do it as a React stream. And I try to do it only when I do it with like Vox videos or Vice videos and stuff like that, because at least I'm not like directly ripping from one content creator and not like a whole team and stuff. And most of those videos have like 5 million views. I only get like 500 viewers, I'm taking maybe 50 views from the video. It's a lot harder to feel like, I guess, bad about that. Whereas like I would feel very bad about doing that to like a single content creator.
That's not how the law works. By the way, that's not how the law works.
Nope.
The law doesn't care whether you are a large creator or whether you're a small creator. And that's not going to matter at all.
Not only that, but like I said, when I reacted to the Ethan's video, you're stealing from an entity. An entity isn't made up of robots. It's not made up of some AI generated computer. It's human beings, flesh and blood, people who are employed by that entity, whom are affected by you stealing from it. So if you continue to siphon views, siphon money, siphon revenue from this entity, eventually once they start having greater loss than income, they're going to have to then turn around and start laying people off and in an effort to compensate for the money and the revenue that they are no longer receiving. You are still potentially harming everyday individuals. The only difference is that you don't see the face. When you steal from Ethan, you see his face. You know who you're stealing from. There is a name to it. But if you steal from, some, let's say like, what's one? Watch Mojo, right? If you steal from Watch Mojo, sure, you hear the narrator, but everybody looks at Watch Mojo as a company, not as an individual. So there's no face to it. There's no name to it. It's a entity. It's a conglomerate. It's a company. You're still stealing from somebody. There's still people who need to get paid that worked on that project. So just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. But in Denim's mind, it's less personal. Therefore, she has less regret of it because she doesn't see the person to whom she's causing damage to. In other words, if she can get away with it, she will.
Her feelings, once again, and like what she says there, she says repeatedly, her feelings, I would feel. The law doesn't give a shit about your feelings.
Facts.
It is what it is, right? Regardless of whether you feel bad about it or not.
Facts don't give a shit about your feelings. Fuck off with all that bullshit.
Some people don't feel bad about stealing, but that's still a crime.
Yep.
Right? Some people don't feel bad about murder. It's still a crime. Whether you feel bad about it or not.
That, my friend, is called theft. And you're a thief. And now I'm suing you. This is just a testimony to how brazen and how safe they've, gotten. That she thinks she can go out in public on video and say, like, I'm stealing this content because I want to. I'm coping, even though I know it's stealing. When people watch it with me, they're definitely not going to go watch the original. Like, You are way too comfortable committing crimes out in the open. Well, there you have it.
I do appreciate. He said that is not a crime; it's a civil offense. Yes, that is a good. His lawyer probably caught that one. You can tell the lawyer watched this one because that is a good clarification. It is not a crime.
And the reason, maybe he'll explain it, but in case he doesn't explain it, the reason why, in my understanding of the law and my understanding of context and why he would want to, is because if he leaves it in as a criminal argument, then it's then in the court system itself, this is a civil matter, right? So if he wants to try and argue criminal intent or criminal action, then he would have to take it to a criminal court, which is a completely different set of circumstances, completely different threshold. It is way harder to prove like copyright, like malicious copyright in criminal. And I also don't think that copyright could even go criminal. I'm not entirely sure. I think it has to stay within like civil. Again, I'm not right. I'm not right. I'm not, I don't know exactly, but the reason, in my opinion, in my understanding, why he made sure to put that, that notation there, the annotation there, is to show that, no, this is civil. I'm not trying to make a criminal lawsuit or a criminal case against them. This is a civil case. So that way it doesn't come to bite him in the ass.
Is a civil offense.
3 separate lawsuits for 3 separate geniuses. Now, I want to make it clear again, and I hope it's been obvious about why I'm suing these 3 people.
You would think so. You would think so, but so many people think it's because, you hate them, you're on a tirade, you're crazy, you're on drugs, you're misogynistic. There's so many different reasons why people think that he's actually suing them, other than the fact that he's actually suing them because he says why he's suing them. But you know how people are online. They're like, no, he's saying that, but it's actually because of this.
And not others. These people not only violated all of the principles of fair use, they also did it maliciously. And that's the part that really got me. I think if you're a reactor on Twitch, for the most part, if you make a good faith effort to comment, and if you make a good faith effort to promote the author, to link to them, to try to drive traffic to the original video, I think you're probably pretty much doing the right thing. And
okay, so now he's making a moral argument here. So I'm gonna push back a little bit against Ethan, a little bit. He is now making a moral argument. This is not the law. The law is not good faith effort. It's transformative. True. And transformative, could be something that he might not consider a good faith effort, but it might still transform the content, right? So that's a little bit, he's going into an area where, okay, I see where you're going and you're leaning on the moral side. If your definition of good faith effort is transformative, okay, yes, but that's not necessarily where the line is drawn. But I see what he's getting at.
Yeah, he's basically what he's saying is that he's not going after somebody so long as he himself sees that they're putting forth a good faith effort to react to it and to engage with it in a meaningful manner. Now, as far as the courts go, they don't care. Like they're going to, they decide what is going to be yes or no. Is this transformative? Ethan is stating that as long as he himself sees an effort, a good faith effort being put forth in the reaction of that video, he's not going to sue that person, even if it's more lacking on the transformative area.
And that's fine. And I would never sue someone for that. Take it to these 3 absolute morons to state their intention to steal my property on video, and to all the detractors who are saying that I'm targeting women, that I'm a hypocrite for suing for copyright infringement, I just have this to say. I don't care. What I do hope, though, is that you'll support their crowdfunding efforts to defend themselves. Because let's face it, I want to make sure there's money left over for me when I win my lawsuits. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been a great time. I'll see you around.
Okay, so that's the video there. That's what we have for that one. Interesting. I think once again, my final assessment here is that Ethan does have a chance to get past the motion to dismiss, to get past the slap statutes, and to get to discovery. I don't know whether he will ultimately prevail at trial, but I do think he has a good shot. I think he has a very, very good shot with these 3 specific targets.
And it'll also be interesting to see if they will attempt to settle prior, right? Because remember when we reacted to this the other day, and I showed the clips of Denim saying that Ethan was too pussy to sue her, that he was a bitch, blah, 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 blah. It'll be interesting if they try to settle out of court prior to reaching to court, because if they try and settle, you know, the law will tell you that you shouldn't look at that as an admission of guilt, but come on. Like, let's be realistic. If Denim's attempts to settle with Ethan outside of court, you only ever settle, or lawyers will only ever advise you to settle or to take a plea agreement when the odds are completely stacked against you and it's looking like you're going to lose, right? And not only does it look like you're going to lose, but you have a almost surefire chance of losing. So if they try and settle, I believe Ethan has already said that he's not going to, that he's not entertaining the idea of settling. So, but it would still just be, it would be funny if they do end up trying to.
And I will say at the end, he said, you know, how are they picked? I mean, people will also say, and I see people saying in the super chats that they're all, you know, Hassan orbiters. Okay, that's fine. Obviously, there's a personal grudge, but he did not choose to go after Hassan. He chose to go after these specific people. And those statements were very damning.
I will also say that he couldn't go after Hassan. He openly, just like I said previously, he openly invited Hassan to watch the video and to talk to him and debate him on the video. So there is no way he would be able to hit him with a lawsuit, even if he didn't interact with it in a transformative way. Ethan openly stated and asked for Hassan to watch it, right? Now, I did make that argument against somebody who was trying to say that basically he was trying to rope Hassan in for a lawsuit. They then tried to turn around and say, well, if he asked Hassan to react to it, then that's obviously an open invitation for other people to do it. And look, if you're uploading it, it's an open invitation, especially for Ethan. It's an open invitation for people to look at it and give their opinions and their thoughts on it. It has nothing to do with with somebody reacting to it. It has everything to do with their lack of reaction.
Very damning.
Hi, everyone.
Oh, not that one again. All right. So we're going to go over here to Yeet. So LodTuber LUS shows email from alleged H3 snark mod asking for legal advice. Of course, apparently the mods might have been contacting multiple LodTubers. LUS thinks there's a solid chance Discovery could open up a bevy of issues for the defendants and mods. And this is what I was saying. During Discovery, if Ethan has the ability to prove a connection or a communication between Ethan Denims, Frogan, and Caseytron and the mods of H3 Snark, or people a part of H3 Snark, or just anybody in general, if he's able to prove enough to the court that it would be advantageous for them to get these communiques behind the scenes, then you might be looking at a whole bevy of issues. You might be looking at an incredible, untapped stream of information that we may never have had. And it is also not illegal for Ethan to publicize the information that he gains or garners. As from my understanding, it's not illegal for him to publicize it, even if it is not allowed within the actual lawsuit itself or allowed within the court itself, right? Because a judge decide what is and isn't going to come into the court. I do believe that even if he's able to, even if there are things, communications that isn't brought into the court, I do believe that it is not illegal for him to put that out there. So it would be interesting. And on top of it, even if, and again, this is my understanding, even if something was damning evidence of a different crime, right? Let's say that there's communication between Denims and H3 Snark about colluding and calling CPS on Ethan. Well, he's not suing them over CPS being called to his home, but I do believe he can use that to go into another lawsuit, a criminal lawsuit. So people don't understand. Discovery means that as long as the courts okay it, your entire life is turned upside down. Every message you sent, every phone call you might have had, every person you've come in contact with, any sort of documentation of your communication or video or something of that nature, all of it gets taken, all of it gets looked at, all of it gets condensed, put on a thumb drive, printed out for the entire world to see, right? Because whatever goes into a court system through the Freedom of Information Act, unless sealed by a judge, is open for anyone to get. So, and the good part about that too is that during a filing of a motion, right, to introduce this evidence, that also can then turn into, or that also can be given to us through the Freedom of Information Act, which means that if there is communication, right, between Denims and H3 Snark mods who are colluding or potentially colluding to call CPS, Ethan has to file a motion to put that in there, and we, the people, as long as it's in some way, shape, or form documented, which it has to be, we, the people, would be able to look at that communication and through the legal filing and read that communication, even if it's denied to come into the court itself. Now, again, that's my understanding. That's my interpretation, because there's been plenty of times where, whether criminal or civil, where people have pushed for certain aspects to be permitted into the court that we were able to listen to, watch, and read that never ended up making it into the actual court itself, into the actual trial itself, right? It's information that's out there, but it's not information allowed to be within the trial itself. So let's listen to LSU, and then we'll wrap it up for the night.
You might be asking, why is Ethan coming after these free content? It's obvious, in my opinion. These free content creators, as smaller content creators, may have negotiated, interacted with the H3 Snark mod, right? Based on how much the H3 Snark subreddit loves them, they may have interacted with them in a way that they were interacting with a person's real name. And in discovery, Ethan Klein is entitled to all of that. Who knows what the percentage is, but I'm fairly certain that at least one of these moderators, who was a huge fan, let's say, of Denins, probably interacted with Denins using his real email, using his real name. Mm-hmm. When they interacted with me, only one interaction, they did use their first name. And I'm a complete stranger to them. I've never interacted with the subreddit. I've never talked to them. I never responded to email. When discovery hits, you have to turn it over anyway. So if there ever is a text message with a phone number or an email, or God forbid they were using Facebook Messenger where it has your full name on it and the company you work at, God forbid they use LinkedIn.
Didn't you have another thing to say about the Fox girl? Well, there is a Twitter thread by Reddit Lies, which has a multitude of screenshots of like multi-paragraphs and everything like that about the whole Save a Fox thing. I don't think I'll get over it. I might take a glimpse at it, but I am probably not going to go through a Twitter thread this late right now.
I kind of wish I could go back in time, help them out a little bit, and told them, you got to stop promoting these free people. You got to stop promoting these people because they are copyright infringing. Like, even though you are not posting the video on your subreddit, he's going to come after you. You know he's going to come after you, and you're giving him a reason to come after you legally. Like I said, this case will break these free individuals if this case has a high potential to financially break and ruin these free individuals for their entire lives. And the H3 mod.
Yep, that it does. And and you know what? Fuck them. I'm sorry. Not sorry. They deserve everything that's coming to them. Every last thing. So I think Ethan's gonna win. It'll be interesting to see what if at all, if they do end up being able to get it thrown out, or if a slap lawsuit is, or if it's seen as a slap lawsuit or any of that nature. And once it gets past those, it'll be interesting to see what the judge allows in for their each side. It'll be interesting to see what their defense is going to be and retort to all of this. So it'll be something. We will definitely be covering it and following it, because once it drops, like, this is going to be a freaking massive thing going on. I pray to the YouTube lords that they are able to live stream this, because boy, howdy, that would be amazing.
Chaos brews inside the room. Voices of contention blooms. The king's eyes filled with boiling rage. Zeph steps up to the high stage. Explode the silence, break the chains. Never been a better name in the game. In this blood cast fiery flame, words like bullets in your brain. Don't forget to have a smirk. Plex's words